that's what, in fact, the law enforcement authorities are doing. You have a better look at it than I do.
Well, looking as close as I can, and again, this is an aerial from a helicopter, but that may then explain why you had the police moving up there and trying to get closer behind the protection of that bulletproof vehicle that we see there, that they saw something inside, they saw a body inside, wanted to make sure that person was dead and no longer a threat. It's possible to say for sure, but as you look at what was, and we're pulling out now, but as you look at what was under that white, looked like sort of white clothing or a white sheet, certainly the possibility of another body.
This was a residential neighborhood in San Bernardino, a city of about 200,000 people, some 60 miles or so from Los Angeles, about an hour's drive from Los Angeles. It started off as a regularly routine kind of day at the Inland Regional Center. That's a center that serves individuals with developmental disabilities in the Riverside and San Bernardino counties. In one of the buildings there was a conference underway from the county healthcare workers, apparently, who were there. And the charge is that these at least one or two or three shooters went in there with long guns, AK-47 type guns, went in there and started shooting. We had an eyewitness who told us she heard 20 or 30 bullets within a matter of only a few minutes ring out. The police chief in San Bernardino, Jared Barguan, saying at least 14 people confirmed dead. He originally said 14 injured. Now that number has gone up to 17. So this is Cedric Alexander. This is going on a street in a residential area in San Bernardino right now. You see police, law enforcement experts behind those armored vehicles moving very, very carefully, cautiously to try to determine what, if anything else, is inside that SUV.
Yeah, absolutely, Wolf. And they're going to take a great deal of precaution. But I agree with Tom. It's really very hard to tell exactly what they are doing in and around that vehicle right now. But the appearance may be, it could be one, maybe two bodies inside of that vehicle. But they're going to proceed very cautiously because they really have time on their side. Now, with the cloak of darkness moving in, it certainly make it a little bit more challenging for them, particularly if they're going to still be looking for another suspect out there. But I think as time continues to pass, it appears as if we're gaining more and more information as to how this may end up coming to a close.
Well, let's hope it does come to a close and there's no more deaths, no more injuries. Evan Perez, our justice reporter, is getting information. And we know, Evan, the FBI is on the scene, the ATF is on the scene, the Department of Homeland Security. What are you learning from your sources?
Well, right now everybody's basically working on figuring out, trying to determine what possible could be the motive here. And one of the things they're doing is they're running names of everybody who may be associated with this event that was taking place, where this shooting began this morning at 11 a.m. local time. They want to make sure anybody who was at the event and perhaps left it or perhaps missed it today, whether they were involved in any of this. And obviously now that they have someone who appears to be dead in that vehicle that we keep showing on air, it helps them at least try to put together a picture of who may be involved. Obviously, that means now that they are beginning to get a picture of whether or not this is something that is perhaps related to whatever this county employee event that was being held, or whether there's some other motive. I mean, obviously, the first thing that the FBI is looking for is whether or not there's any terrorism nexus. Again, there's no information yet indicating that that's the case, and as a matter of fact, it's looking less and less like that's the case. But again, they don't rule anything out until they've checked everything. And one of the things they're doing right now is they're busily checking the names of everybody associated with that event to see what possibly could be the motive and to bring this to an end.
Yeah, the FBI agent on the scene there about 2 hours or so ago said that they could not rule in or rule out terrorism in this particular case. They don't have a motive right now, but they're going through methodically what's going on. Tom Foreman, once again, 14 people confirmed dead in that mass murder, that mass shooting at the Inland Regional Center at that conference that was going on with some county employees. There was some sort of holiday celebration that was going on. A gunman or two or three gunmen went in there with these AK-47 style assault weapons and just started killing and shooting at these people who were having some sort of celebration if you will, during this holiday season here in the United States. Tom, as we see these images right now, they have to err on the side of caution. They have to worry about the worst case, that there may be a bomb or some sort of explosive device there.
No, that's true, Wolf. And something we haven't talked about is that they want to get the identification numbers off that vehicle so they can trace it. Was it a rental car? Who rented it? That was it. What led to the solving of Oklahoma City bombing, World Trade Center 1 bombing, the rental information. Does it come to a residence where they're going to want to go to the registered owner at that residence and search the residence, look for computers, look for other material, other evidence that links this person or persons to this event. So,
and that would explain, Cedric, why they're in no rush to blow up this vehicle, because they could get very useful information potentially from this vehicle, right?
That's very possible, Wolf. Very much possible. You're correct.
Yeah, if it was a rented car or if it's a purchased car, they look at the vehicle numbers, they could quickly determine where that vehicle came from, if in fact that was the vehicle that drove into the Inland Regional Center, and individuals. And Jim Sciutto, we still don't know if there were 1, 2, or 3 shooters, even though the police chief at the time said could be as many as 3.
That's exactly right. Witnesses reporting that really from the beginning of this, but as we know, witness statements that they can be wrong, caught up in the chaos of the moment. We may be watching here now the possibility of another shooter or suspect taken out of that vehicle. So at least the possibility is still there, in addition to the body we've already seen on the other side of the street. But from the beginning, this one has been different. The possibility of multiple shooters, the weapons they use, and really this fact that they escaped the scene. That's extremely unusual. Multiple shooters, extremely unusual. Only 2 out of 160 active shooter situations since the year 2000 have involved more than one shooter. And getting away, that really, and I'll defer to Tom here, but getting away from the scene of the shooting is also extremely unusual.
Means they did not intend to be martyrs.
The deadliest shooting since Sandy Hook. 26 people were killed then, 14 people confirmed killed here. And you got to say, those law enforcement personnel who are standing there right near Tom Fuentes, right near that SUV, they're risking their lives right now. This is an incredibly dangerous potential situation.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that. I think that the EOD personnel would have cleared them out and created a wider perimeter in case that car explodes on its own. If that's been booby-trapped, it doesn't mean that just the officers are going to trip it. Could be other things that set it off. So I'm a little surprised seeing that many people that close to it.
Another unfortunately horrendous day here in the United States. Unfortunately, as I say, this incident happening right now in a residential neighborhood in San Bernardino, California. We're going to stay on top of the breaking news. Don't go away. Our coverage continues with Aaron Burnett.
And thank you very much, Wolf, and good evening to our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Aaron Burnett, and we are following the major breaking news tonight, a dramatic shootout between police and a gunman on the streets of San Bernardino, California. Right now, this is very much an ongoing breaking situation as they are searching for other possible shooters. They zeroed in on a black SUV that was believed to be carrying up to 3 gunmen suspected of a deadly mass shooting in San Bernardino earlier in the day. Now, here's what we know. Police have killed 1 suspect. We saw that suspect lying on the ground outside that black SUV. Right now, they are actively searching the area for other possible suspects. They are desperately trying to find them before darkness falls in a highly residential neighborhood. Obviously, these shooters would be heavily armed, also possibly wearing bulletproof vests. This all started just hours ago when witnesses say up to 3 heavily armed gunmen opened fire at an office complex about 60 miles east of Los Angeles. You're looking at that right here. The gunmen attacked people in the conference center at this complex, firing with what they believe are AK-47 style rifles. That's according to a law enforcement official. And then it's reported that they fled the scene in a black SUV. At least 14 people are dead tonight, 17 wounded. This is the deadliest mass shooting in the United States since the Sandy Hook school shooting in Connecticut. Hundreds of terrified office workers evacuated the building amidst a massive police response and manhunt. And we're standing by. Any moment we anticipate a police press conference, which is obviously going to be crucial in terms of the status here. As we said, we know 1 gunman now dead. We do not know if there are 2 or 1 more and where they are. That is starting at any moment. Our producer, Alberto Moya, is on the scene of the shootout, though, where the one gunman was killed right now. And Alberto, they are desperately trying to find